For over 4 decades, Only Fools and Horses has remained etched in the hearts of millions as Britain's most treasured comedy. The show's magic didn't just come from its brilliant writing, but from the unforgettable characters brought to life by a cast of remarkable actors. But what many don't know is the shocking truth behind the scenes, the personal struggles, hidden battles, and tragic endings that befell many of the show's beloved stars. Behind the laughter that filled our living rooms, a darker reality was unfolding, one that would ultimately claim the lives of some of television's most cherished performers. The Peckham gang that felt like family to viewers across Britain has gradually diminished over the years. The faces that made us laugh until we cried are slowly disappearing, leaving behind legacies that extend far beyond their iconic roles. What happened to these stars after the cameras stopped rolling? What were their final days like? And how did their passing impact the show we all adored? Leonard Pearce, the man who breathed life into Grandad Trotter, was already 66 when he first shuffled onto our screens in his worn slippers and permanently confused expression. What few viewers realized was that Pearce had actually enjoyed a thriving career in film and television dating back to the 1950s, appearing in everything from The Lady Killers to The Avengers. But it was his portrayal of the lovably lazy, perpetually bewildered Grandad that finally made him a household name. Pearce's comic timing was impeccable, delivering lines that still have fans quoting decades later. His character's hopeless attempts at cooking, most memorably the incident with the atomic microwave, became legendary moments in British television. But tragedy struck suddenly in December 1984 when Pearce collapsed from a devastating heart attack at just 69. The cast was left shattered and the show faced its first major crisis. Writer John Sullivan made the bold decision to acknowledge Pearce's death within the show itself, leading to one of the most poignant episodes ever filmed. The scene where Del Boy sits alone on Grandad's bed, clutching his old war medals, wasn't just acting. David Jason was genuinely mourning his colleague and friend. The loss of John Challis in 2021 sent shockwaves through the fanbase. As the pompous used car dealer Boise, Challis created one of comedy's most memorable antagonists. His distinctive machine gun laugh and ongoing rivalry with Del Boy produced some of the show's finest moments. What remained hidden from public view for years was how Challis fought his cancer diagnosis with the same determination that characterized Boise's business dealings. Even in his final interviews, he never lost his trademark wit, joking about his condition right until the end. The bond between Challis and the cast ran deep. When David Jason received news of his passing, he reportedly had to stop filming on another project to compose himself. Challis had transitioned from a background theater actor to television. Royalty, with his spin-off The Green Grass, proving his character's enduring appeal. His final days were spent quietly at his beloved medieval home in Herefordshire, surrounded by family and the many mementos from his time on the show that he'd proudly displayed throughout his house. The arrival of Buster Merryfield as Uncle Albert marked a crucial turning point for the series. After Grandad's passing, the show needed a new elder figure, and Merryfield's seafaring storytelling Albert filled that void perfectly. What makes Merryfield's story particularly remarkable is that he'd never acted professionally before being cast at 65. He spent most of his life as a bank manager before retiring and pursuing amateur dramatics. His famous during the war stories became so embedded in popular culture that the phrase itself is now instantly associated with long-winded reminiscences. Merryfield's dedication to the role was legendary. He refused to cut his iconic white beard even when offered other acting jobs, saying he'd never betray Albert's look. Behind the scenes, he developed a father-figure relationship with Nicholas Lyndhurst, often giving the younger actor advice about saving his earnings from the show. When Merryfield succumbed to a brain tumor in 1999, the cast attended his funeral in full, with David Jason delivering a eulogy that left not a dry eye in the church. While not one of the Trotter family, Kenneth MacDonald's Mike Fisher was the steady presence at the Nag's Head that anchored much of the show's setting. As the long-suffering landlord constantly exasperated by Del's schemes, MacDonald created a character that was both foil and friend to the main cast. His unexpected death at just 50 shocked everyone associated with the show. MacDonald suffered a massive heart attack while on holiday in Hawaii with his family in 2001, thousands of miles from home. What few fans know is that he had just filmed scenes for what would become the final full series, and producers had to hastily rewrite storylines to explain his absence. The on-screen explanation that Mike had been imprisoned for embezzlement was a stark contrast to the warmth MacDonald brought to the role. Roger Lloyd Pack once revealed that MacDonald was actually the cast member who made everyone laugh the most between takes, often causing scenes to be reshot because others couldn't keep a straight face during his deadpan deliveries. Perhaps no supporting character achieved the level of cultural impact as Roger Lloyd Pack's Trigger, The road sweeper with the perpetual confusion became beloved for his bizarre logic and for persistently calling Rodney Dave despite constant corrections. Behind the iconic slowness, Lloyd Pack was actually a classically trained actor with a sharp intellect, having studied at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. His creation of Trigger was a masterclass in character acting, maintaining the same blank expression and deliberately measured speech pattern throughout the show's run. What many don't realize is that Lloyd Pack initially turned down the role, believing the character wouldn't amount to much. How wrong he was. Trigger became so popular that public appearances would see fans shouting, "Dave!" whenever Lloyd Pack walked by. His battle with pancreatic cancer in 2014 was kept largely private, with even some cast members unaware of the severity of his condition. The news of his passing at 69 led to an unprecedented outpouring of public grief, with fans leaving brooms outside their homes in tribute to the beloved road sweeper. The show's rich world was populated by numerous supporting characters whose actors have also left us. Roy Heather's unhygienic cafe owner Sid provided some of the show's most disgusting yet hilarious moments. Heather had actually been a taxi driver before turning to acting in his 40s, bringing authentic East End charm to the role. His passing in 2014 at 79 came shortly after Lloyd Pack's, leading fans to speak of the Peckham curse. Joan Sims, beloved from the Carry On films, made a memorable appearance as Aunt Reenie. Her deteriorating health in her final years was a tragic contrast to her vivacious on-screen persona. Christopher Malcolm, who played the unforgettable security chief in Diamonds Are for Boise, had actually achieved fame in the original stage production of Rocky Horror Show before joining the cast. His versatility as an actor was matched only by his generosity to younger performers. The chemistry of the Only Fools and Horses cast wasn't just acting, they formed genuine bonds that made the loss of each member all the more devastating. David Jason has spoken about how the deaths affected him personally, saying part of the reason he's reluctant to revisit the show is that too many ghosts would be missing from the set. Nicholas Lyndhurst has maintained a dignified silence about his former colleagues, though insiders reveal he keeps photographs of the original cast in his private study. The production faced numerous challenges with each passing, having to rewrite storylines, adjust character dynamics, and honor their memory appropriately. The reason the show maintained its quality despite these losses speaks to the tremendous talent of those who remained and their determination to honor their fallen friends through their performances. The legacy of these departed stars extends far beyond their roles in Only Fools and Horses. They helped define an era of British comedy that valued character over quick gags, heart over cynicism. Their performances created a world so believable that viewers still speak of the Trotters as if they were real people. When we rewatch old episodes today, there's a bittersweet quality to seeing these lost talents in their prime, knowing what lay ahead for them. Yet in that same moment, they achieve a kind of immortality, forever young, forever funny, forever part of our cultural consciousness. As time passes, more cast members will inevitably join those we've already lost. Each departure takes with it another piece of a show that defined British television. Yet the performances they left behind continue to find new audiences, with younger viewers discovering the show through streaming services and understanding why their parents and grandparents hold it in such high regard. The tragedy of these losses is tempered by the joy they continue to bring through reruns, reminding us that while actors may leave us, truly great characters never die. What made these performances so special wasn't just the writing or the direction. It was the humanity these actors brought to their roles. They understood the people they were portraying, infusing them with quirks, vulnerabilities, and depths that resonated with audiences. That's why we still care about their passing years or even decades later. They weren't just actors reading lines, they were artists who created characters that feel like old friends to millions of viewers. The next time you watch an episode of Only Fools and Horses, take a moment to appreciate the incredible talent that has been lost. Behind every laugh is an actor who dedicated themselves to bringing joy to others, often while facing their own personal challenges. Their legacy lives on not just in television history, but in the hearts of everyone who has ever laughed at a Trotter family scheme going spectacularly wrong. We can learn something profound from how the show handled these real-life tragedies with honesty, respect, and a determination to continue bringing laughter even in the face of loss. Perhaps that's the most fitting tribute to these departed stars, that the show they helped create continues to be a source of joy, even as we acknowledge the sadness of their absence. The Nag's Head may be quieter now, Nelson's flat emptier, and the market lacking some familiar faces. But as long as people continue to watch and laugh, a part of these brilliant performers remains alive, still doing what they did best, bringing happiness to millions. Life after Only Fools and Horses. The untold stories, What many fans don't realize is how profoundly Only Fools and Horses transformed the lives of its cast members, creating both opportunities and unexpected challenges. For some, the iconic roles became golden tickets to lasting fame. For others, they became inescapable shadows that haunted their later careers. The stories from behind the cameras reveal a much more complex reality than most viewers ever imagined. Leonard Pierce's brief time on the show came at the twilight of his career, but those 3 years completely changed how the public saw him. After decades of being a reliable character actor, he suddenly couldn't walk down a street without hearing shouts of "Grandad!" His daughter later revealed that Pierce had mixed feelings about this late career fame, grateful for the recognition, but sometimes frustrated that his previous 50 years of work had been effectively erased in the public memory. In his final months, Pierce had been developing a one-man show about his life in entertainment, planning to showcase the breadth of his talents beyond Grandad. The pages of this unfinished project were found among his belongings after his death, a poignant reminder of stories left untold. John Challis embraced his Boise persona more completely than perhaps any other cast member, understanding the rare gift of creating a truly iconic character. What remained private until after his passing was how Challis had fought against typecasting in the early years after the show began. He auditioned for serious dramatic roles repeatedly, only to be told he was too Boise. Eventually, he not only accepted but celebrated his association with the character, turning his famous laugh and catchphrases into a lucrative career of public appearances. His cancer diagnosis came as he was writing his autobiography, and friends report that he accelerated his writing pace, determined to complete his life story in his own words. This determination extended to his final months when, despite weakening health, he recorded audio readings of his book, wanting fans to hear his story in his own voice. These recordings, released posthumously, capture both his humor and his reflections on mortality. Buster Merryfield's late-life career change from banker to iconic actor reads like the plot of a feel-good film. What isn't widely known is that Merryfield had actually auditioned for several small roles in British television before landing Uncle Albert, facing rejection after rejection due to his lack of professional experience. The Only Fools audition was reportedly his last shot at an acting career before giving up the dream. His banking background gave him a unique perspective. Among the cast, he was meticulous about his contracts and unusually savvy about his finances. This led to him establishing a significant charitable foundation with his earnings from the show, focusing particularly on veterans' causes in honor of the naval background he shared with his character. The foundation continues its work today, a lasting legacy beyond his performances. In his personal diaries published by his family years after his death, Merryfield wrote movingly about finding his true calling so late in life. Who would have thought that, at an age when most men are forgotten, I would finally be seen? Kenneth MacDonald's sudden passing created ripples that extended beyond the show. As the steady presence at the Nag's Head, MacDonald had become an unlikely sex symbol among a certain demographic of the show's viewers, receiving more fan mail than many of the main cast members. His wife revealed after his death that he kept every letter, humbled and amazed by the connection viewers felt to a character he considered relatively minor. MacDonald had actually been developing his own sitcom concept in the months before his death, centered around a divorced pub landlord navigating the dating world, a project that died with him. Cast members recall that during breaks in filming, MacDonald would retreat to his dressing room to work on this script, hoping it would be his legacy beyond Mike Fisher. David Jason later admitted that he had planned to produce MacDonald's show through his production company, believing strongly in his friend's writing talent, a collaboration cut tragically short. The profound effect of Only Fools and Horses on Roger Lloyd Pack's life extended far beyond his acting career. His character became so beloved that Lloyd Pack found himself appointed as an honorary council member in Peckham, despite having no real connection to the area before the show. He used this platform to advocate for local arts funding and youth programs, quietly transforming his unexpected fame into community support. Lloyd Pack's relationship with Trigger was complicated. He spoke in interviews about both appreciating the character's popularity while feeling frustrated by its simplistic nature. What few people know is that Lloyd Pack wrote several of Trigger's most memorable non-sequiturs himself, including the famous, "If it's a girl, they're gonna name it Sigourney, after an actress. And if it's a boy, they're gonna name it Rodney, after Dave." His diagnosis with pancreatic cancer led Lloyd Pack to establish a private research fund that continues to support innovative treatment approaches. On learning his prognosis was terminal, he reportedly told his family, "Well, at least I'll always be remembered for something, even if it's for calling someone by the wrong name for 22 years. The wealth of stories from minor cast members reveals just how deeply the show affected everyone associated with it. Roy Heather, who played cafe owner Sid, was approached so often by fans wanting to discuss the show's food poisoning jokes that he eventually printed business cards reading, "No, my cooking isn't really that bad." Joan Sims considered her guest appearance one of the highlights of her later career, telling friends it introduced her to a new generation who had never seen the Carry On films. Even Christopher Malcolm, whose security chief appeared in just one episode, found himself recognized decades later, with fans reciting his lines back to him verbatim. This level of public recognition could be both blessing and curse, providing work opportunities while sometimes overshadowing other achievements. The wave of public mourning that followed each cast member's death speaks to the unique place Only Fools and Horses holds in British culture. Roger Lloyd Pack's passing prompted an unprecedented response, with fans organizing impromptu memorials outside Peckham Town Hall. When Buster Merryfield died, the British Navy sent representatives to his funeral, honoring both the man and the naval character he portrayed. John Challis's death in 2021 saw social media flooded with his famous Marlene calls and machine gun laugh clips, as a new generation of fans discovered through streaming services joined longtime viewers in mourning. These public displays of grief transcended typical celebrity tributes, feeling more like the loss of distant family members. The cast's own reactions to losing their colleagues reveal the deep bonds formed during the show's production. After Leonard Pierce's death, Nicholas Lyndhurst couldn't bring himself to film in the Trotter's flat for several days, finding the absence of Grandad's chair too emotional. When Kenneth MacDonald passed, the production crew found David Jason sitting alone in the recreated Nags headset, reportedly raising a silent toast to his departed friend. These weren't just colleagues mourning co-workers, they were a surrogate. Family grieving real losses. The authentic chemistry that made the show special couldn't simply be turned off when the cameras stopped rolling, and the pain of each loss was genuinely felt throughout the production. Perhaps the most touching aspects of these losses are the stories that emerged later, the private moments that showed the real people behind the beloved characters. John Sullivan, the show's creator, kept a wall in his study dedicated to photographs of the cast members who had passed, adding each new image with a sense of preserving their collective legacy. When visiting Sullivan's home after his own death in 2011, David Jason was moved to tears by this quiet memorial to their shared creation. It's these human connections, the friendships, the collaborations, the shared memories, that truly explain why the passing of each cast member feels so significant to both their colleagues and their audience. The homes of the departed cast. Members often revealed touching connections to the show that defined their careers. Leonard Pierce's modest London flat contained carefully preserved scripts with his own handwritten notes in the margins, evidence of the seriousness with which he approached a role many might dismiss as simple comedy. Buster Merryfield kept his character's naval hat displayed prominently in his living room, a symbol of the late career success that changed his life. Roger Lloyd Pack's family discovered after his death that he had secretly kept a road sweeper's broom signed by the entire cast, a treasured memento he never publicly displayed. These private tokens of remembrance tell us more about what the show meant to them than any interview ever could. As the years pass and more cast members leave us, the show itself becomes not just entertainment, but a time capsule, preserving performances, relationships, and moments that can never be recreated. When we laugh at an episode today, we're connecting not just with fictional characters, but with real people who gave pieces of themselves to create something lasting. The poignancy of watching Grandad fumble with the microwave or Uncle Albert launch into another war story is deepened by our knowledge that these performers are no longer with us, yet through their work, some essential part of them remains alive and continues to bring joy to millions.